Welcome to the Energizing America Podcast, where we talk all things energy in our business, communities, and life, and why we need the oil and gas industry, and all things energy. Excited to sit down with John here after we got our 2022 plans underway and just have a discussion about where we're headed. So, John, what the heck? What are you nowadays? You're our electrical president?
That's what I'm called.
That's it.
Yeah, it feels like I'm kind of whatever I need to be for the day. It's turning crazy out there.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about as we go forward in 2022? Do you feel like your role has been a little bit more established than when you started in 2018?
Much. I think in 2018, I felt like I just ran around with a fire hose. So
yeah,
there's definitely process and thought and planning going into what we're doing more.
We talked a little bit about this, that we got our budget and our plans done later in the year this year. And I think it was actually late December before we actually put the ink to the paper and said, this is what we're doing. But I feel like we're more prepared than we ever have been as far as where we're headed and what we're doing. And one of the things that we've gained tons of clarity around is just what people are doing. And I know even from your perspective, you guys, especially you, pushed pretty hardly on me to embrace job descriptions and what people's roles are. And I'm excited to see that take off this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like everyone's focused. Everyone's got a clear picture. This is where we're heading, and this is how we're doing it.
This will be the first year that we have a full-time North Dakota Bakken established manager. Am I true?
Yep. I believe he started in the fall.
He started in his role in the fall of 2021. And so when we think about the Bakken specifically, that manager, he had worked for us for a while.
I think 6 years.
So another Wescomer who started out, and Mr. Jacobs, this guy is incredible. He came on our team as an apprentice electrician, and he's just he's touched every part of our business.
Yes, yeah. Even the Permian.
That's right. He actually went down and even touched the Permian with us for a while and helped us gain some foothold there. And that's about that time is when we really started talking about it's time to promote this guy.
Yeah, and it was good. He got to see how Joey is making things go so well down there. It was a good experience for him to get a glimpse into it and take that even up north.
Yeah. Well, and he's 6 months in. We've been seeing some awesome progress. So we talked a lot in 2022 plans about really helping him succeed. And the recovery in the Bakken, when we think back to where we were when COVID hit, the Bakken was a hot spot for us. We were killing it.
Oh, yeah, big time.
What did we have? 60?
We had 60 guys. It was maybe a touch over.
And they were just awesome guys doing incredible things for our team. And they were working some serious hours.
Oh, yeah. It was 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, for sure.
And that sucker came to a screeching halt. And so we've really tried to recover out there, and it's been a slow go. We thought 2021 was going to be a better year.
Yeah, it seemed like summer, 2021, early summer, we're like, that's when it's going to hit. Maybe even start in the spring, and then it was the summer. And then in the fall, finally, we've seen it.
Yeah.
It was a much slower recovery.
And that's kind of helped us determine what we're going to do in 2022, and maybe even why it took us longer to put the ink on the paper this year, is just trying to figure out what is going on in the Bakken. We had a bit more clarity in the Permian and here in the Twin Ports, but we lacked some of that clarity. But we're pretty excited about where we're headed in the Bakken. What are you projecting? A good 1/3 increase almost?
Yeah, it was close to that.
In the Bakken?
Yeah, and we had it kind of scaled out, slower and then ramping up towards summer, and we're seeing it really ramp up fast. Producers they're breaking loose.
Yeah, and that's provided some challenges for us because when you plan to spread your crew growth out throughout the year, so goes CapEx, right? So in our business, you hire 2 people, you got to go find a pickup, and that's proving to be a little bit of a challenge.
Right. Yeah, you can't find them. It's definitely a challenge, and I'm glad we did have a little bit of insight into it, and we did get 4 trucks ordered. Actually, there was 2 before that, too, so we have ordered some early. But I feel sorry for the people that are just realizing it's getting busy, and they're thinking they're going to go buy vehicles and put guys to work. Well, this is the first time in history I've ever heard that's harder to find a truck than manpower.
Yeah, and eventually we think that'll clear, right? But when is that eventual? And if you wait too long for the eventual, the market will pass you by. So we're thinking mainly growth in the electrical out there, but we've also planned some growth in our automation department out there, which is really exciting for Calvin and his team. And I think we back that up pretty extensively. Our producers are looking to us to help them out with that as well. And the other part of the Bakken specific plan in 2022 has really grown with a couple new exciting clients. One, I think I was telling you guys earlier, we've been courting them for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're pretty excited to be out working for them. When did we get their MSA? In late fall?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Late fall of 2021.
It was late fall.
Did our first project maybe in December. How many guys you got working at that particular client?
There's 7.
7 guys working over there. So it was worth the 6-year wait. We're pretty excited about them. And they got really ambitious plans for the Bakken.
Very.
So, and they're established, right? So we're excited about them. And then the other producer that we're really focused on automation with, we're starting to see that kind of clear out. We had some reservation issues with, trying to be tier 1 and all of those kinds of things. But I think we got those issues ironed out, and we're looking forward to adding some automation techs there too. So overall in the Bakken, I think much of the same, right? We call it our maintenance field, where we know what we're doing in the Bakken. We're a large market player in the Bakken, and I'm not saying we don't have challenges or we don't need improvements. Much of our goals in the Bakken are actually operationally focused internally. How can we do better? Because we kind of have it otherwise, which, not to be conceited, because we know what happens, right? We had it in 2019, and then, look at March of 2020.
Yeah, one of my probably my least favorite month of my life, in my career, I should say. It was pretty bleak to see a market crash. Calling guys saying, sorry, we have no work. We value you, but there's no work.
And then try to get them to come back now, right? It's
right.
been an interesting, but you seem to have had good luck with that as we.
Yeah, I think we have. I think we've done really good. Many, not all, but many of the guys that we really valued came back.
Yeah.
It was, and there, of course, they were a little hesitant too. Like, what do you have? How long term is it? A lot of people had it was a abrupt stop for them.
Well, we went, like you were saying, 60 down to 30 overnight, basically. And then not only that, we went from 70 hours a week down to 40 if we were lucky.
If we were lucky.
And the whole world was upside down. Everyone was confused. I think that definitely impacted us when we looked at 2022 as well. We're seeing a really strong oil market. And we talked a lot about, well, we could go for it, right? And we're definitely going for it still. But it's feeling different because 2020 is still on our mind. It's easier to get going than it is to slow down. And in that funness of getting going, sometimes you can forget about, hey, it's not fun if this comes to a screeching halt.
And it's not. I remember hearing it. This was my first experience of a downturn. And I would hear it and I'd kind of discard it a little bit. Like, yeah, that happened then. It doesn't mean it will happen again. Yeah, after you go through one, it does. It's a matter of more like when, not if.
Yeah. You know what was fascinating to me, John, is when we were planning 2022 and we had lots of conversation. You worked with Chad some on it, and then we'd talk about it, and each department's working on it, and then we wrap it all up, and then we're going to go in the conference room and we're all going to agree to this thing. In your department, especially with the growth, people started poking you like, are you serious? You're going to grow like that? And I
started doubting myself, so I had to look at it again, and then in the end, I felt again like, I think this is conservative. Like, when you get a solid base of clients that have needs, you can't say no to them either, or try not to.
Right.
But yeah, it seems aggressive, but if this trend that we're on follows, like, it's going to far exceed, if anything.
And we're seeing a lot of positive signs in North Dakota that conservatism that you were just talking about is actually pretty real, because the fundamentals of the market in North Dakota today, right now, are stronger than they were even when we were putting together those projections, right? We're seeing drill rigs continue to be added. I think there was 35 last time I looked, maybe 36.
Yeah, it's 35, I think.
And we're working for many of the producers that are on the list of that has those drill rigs, and we know that there's a lag period from the time they drill a well to the time the electricians show up and do the work of the electrify the site and then plus automate the site. So I think the fundamentals are there. We're going to The growth happened quicker than we expected. Like we're feeling it right now in January, February. But the challenge for us is going to be come June, July, August. Are we willing to exceed our projections and keep going? And I think both of us feel pretty strongly, and it's just a matter of doing the math right. But we love taking care of our clients. They mean everything to us. And yeah, there's going to be a downturn. It's gonna hurt. But we have some other pretty cool irons in the fire too. And one of the best things about our 2022 budget is we looked ahead even into a 5 and 10 year forecast, and we acknowledged that there are going to be a couple more downturns in this industry, right? But we have ways to mitigate that. Whereas when we hit 2020, frankly, I'm the only one on the team that had been through those things before. Out of our leadership team, Calvin had been, I guess, but he had been boots on the ground, not in a management role. It was a new thing for you guys, and I hadn't adequately prepared for it or shown you guys how to, whereas I feel like now we at least have that experience, and then not only that, but we've acknowledged the potential of it happening again.
Right.
So when we do have to make those decisions in June, July of this year about the Bakken, especially that, do we grow beyond what we thought we would? It's going to be an easier conversation because we can look at, well, hey, what about 2025? What's our plan? Oh, that's right. By 2025, we're going to need those electricians in Duluth. So if there is a slowdown, like we think there will be in the oil market at that time, worst push comes to shove, we grab some of those trucks and some of those top-rated electricians that we seem to attract and put them over here in the Twin Ports market and take care of that additional work that we're going to be working to acquire. So,
yeah, there's always good that comes from a slowdown. It made us get outside our comfort zone. It's super easy to stick with what you know and what you're good at and get out there a little bit like we had to, and it was really good for us. Two ways. We got to see like how much these clients that we've had for these years, how much value they were to us. And also we got into other industries where now a challenge is going to be is to stay like committed to these commitments we've made, to keep ourselves outside of just the oil and gas market.
Well, and specifically oil and gas Bakken and or Permian, right? Because one of the cool things too, so in the Bakken, we think we're going to be, growing by one third or more. We're excited about it. We got our 2 new clients there, taking awesome care of our current clients. We know the communities. We have our offices. We're going to focus a lot internally with Mr. Jacob and just continue rocking solid, right? Mm-hmm. And we budgeted quite a bit for employee development. Softball game, we always like that. That's going to happen again this year. We'll see who wins, right? I'm pretty sure we will again.
Yeah, I've been training. I'm sure we'll have no problems.
That's
there.
Scary if you've been training. Don't throw out that arm before the actual game because then we'll for sure lose. But yeah, I think we're excited about what the Bakken has to hold this year, and the new shop in Watford is helping us out. We got some additional room there and some more conversation to go this year on that. But 2022, much the same in the Bakken. Boy, we go down to the Permian and things are really amping up in the Permian too. We're feeling this strong down in the Permian. They tend to take off earlier than the Bakken, right? They're closer to market. They're more sensitive to the price of a barrel of oil, so they'll respond quicker. There's a lot of private producers down in that area that help drive that responsiveness rate a little bit quicker. But, down in the Permian, we're continued on the challenges on that mechanical end, especially on the roustabout end, trying to make sure that we're doing work for the right client and for the right price, frankly. It's a tougher pricing environment. So we have a lot of conversation about that. What does that look like in 2022? And I think on the mechanical end, we're pretty adverse to growing our mechanical team, and instead let's focus that growth internally on that team. So we put a lot of money and thought into, okay, let's diversify our client list on the mechanical end. We really only do mechanical work for, is it 3 people?
Yeah.
Roughly down there. We don't like that mix because if the market was to take a tumble, that would be tough. So I think super focused on taking that team of 40 roughly mechanical folks and trying to diversify them. We love the maintenance work we're doing down there for especially a particular client that we do a lot of maintenance work for. We plan to really push with them. Our environmental team, which, they're doing spill cleanups. They're helping out with regulation changes, and boy, if there's regulation changes, welcome to New Mexico. That is a tough place right now for our producers. So we really looked at that and we thought, how can we do a better job to help out our producers? There are a lot of other consultants in the area that don't have the oil field background, and we really do. Our mechanical team and our electrical team and us in our office, we've been around this stuff. We feel like we can provide a lot of value on that environmental reporting. So doing a lot of spill cleanups and just AVO reporting, IR stuff. We're excited about that, so we plan to double our environmental team on the professional end down in the Permian this year. And we have a private producer we work for. We like that because our other producers are publicly traded. So we think a lot about, hey, there's spot prices, which is what our private guys are watching, and they react quicker to ups and downs. Mm-hmm. And then the public guys, oftentimes they're hedging their oil on the futures market, so we can kind of pay attention to having some more flexibility, if you get that mix. So pretty excited about our environmental team. And boy, our environmental manager, she's really done a good job down there. We're really excited about that camaraderie too amongst that team. Electrical. You got some growth plan down there too, right?
Yeah, there's some serious plans, and the same thing. We projected the growth to be somewhat consistent, and it's blowing up.
Did you take 100% of the projected growth already in the electrical? You got to be close.
I think we're off by a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meaning that you still have a few to grow before you hit your goal.
Yeah.
But your goal is staggered all the way through June, July, August.
I think so. That's kind of an early ramp up, but it's proven to be the same.
And the other fascinating part about the electrical beyond the growth there is also the mix of clients, right? Like we pretty much only had one electrical client for a bulk of the year last year. And what do you got? 5, 6?
I would say that consistently there's 3, but yeah, there's
MSAs with
MSAs, and there's promising prospect there for sure. But yeah, what's awesome is I feel like we brought a diverse leadership there that's got the background that we've been looking for, and that's we've been able to take this team and do awesome things with it. It just we've had struggles to just get that to take off and find new clients and maintain our existing clients.
And partly because it's been hard to find the right team.
It has been.
For whatever reason, the electrical in the Permian for us, we'll just acknowledge it. It's been a tough go. I don't think we've ever had as much confidence as we do now.
Right.
Every single member, not even just on electrical, but every member of our management team in the Permian Basin is born and lived in the oil field. They're all in. They have years of experience behind them, which comes with years of relationships as well.
That's huge. Yeah, for sure.
Which helps greatly, but just the experience of what they can bring to the table. And I feel like on the electrical end especially too, there's just been massive camaraderie built. They're having their weekly meetings, they're helping each other out, they're cross-training, they're going to some courses, they're buying software to help. I'm just really thrilled with their progress, and I don't know if you've had tons involvement.
Yeah, I was on a call this week, Monday morning, and it was impressive to see in the room how many people there were. There was new faces there that I haven't met yet, and it was kind of like whoa, this thing is definitely taking off, and I'm excited to go down there.
Yeah, I think we expect the Permian too. When we talked about doubling our electrical crew down there, maybe even more than doubling it, if I remember right, and doubling our environmental crew and kind of holding steady on mechanical. The Permian Basin is somewhere where we could triple our crew if we really wanted to. And I don't want to say it would be easy, but I think the foundation is there where we could. What we want to really do, though, is duplicate where we did in the Bakken, that we're working for the right people. They enjoy having us on location. We enjoy being on location. Our team is a Wescom team where they understand their worth a lot as human beings, and they deserve to be compensated. And just that whole conversation, we have a lot of work to do this year internally in the Permian Basin.
Yeah, and I think one thing, too, is that people all came from different areas, different paths. They have different companies they've worked for that a lot of them haven't been treated well. It takes them a long time to realize, whoa, these people this Wescom really cares about me. And that's a lot of the work, is to get that that trust that sometimes even if you don't agree with the decision, it is the best decision even for me.
Right.
Which in the Bakken we have that. We got years. We got guys that have been just established. They don't question if we're doing the right thing for them. We've proven it. That we care about you. We care about if you're winning, we're winning.
And we're I feel like we're so close in the Permian there because we've got guys that have worked for us now since 2017. We have a couple of them down there, and that's helpful, right? Mm-hmm. And in the Bakken, we've been there for 8 years, so it's even twice as helpful. And I still like the culture down in the Permian. It's a great place to do business. I was over at the Blue House Bakery last week, and the lady's asking me how the weather is in Minnesota, and we go to PJ&B Rio's Cafe for breakfast one morning, and they're asking John Hevela how our team is doing, and go over to El Charro, and the gal behind the counter is asking us if we want our regular, and talk about some down-to-earth, just flat awesome people.
Yeah, they are. There's something about down there too. Carlsbad especially. That's a small town. You get to know the people, the locals there.
Yeah, and they like to make you. They like to have a good time.
Yeah,
frankly, the Midwest, we tend to, the folks over in North Dakota, really, it's work, and you're kind of like trying to convince them to go for dinner with you. Down there, they'll line up. They'll gladly go for dinner with you.
Oh yeah.
So it's quite fun. I think in the Permian Basin this year too, we definitely set aside some funds, and we're going to really try hard to make a positive impact on the community. It was a few years ago we did the project with one of the producers. We developed a park down there, and that was exciting. We're really looking for that next opportunity in the Permian Basin this year specifically. We're going to do the annual clay shoots and the annual open house and, sponsor a couple of the, things with our producers. But we're really looking for a big impact item in the Permian. So we've been talking to some of our producers and got some pretty cool ideas on the horizon here that Joey's been working on. So pretty excited about the Permian. The third spot we operate, Twin Ports, that's kind of our big investment maybe. It's ongoing, right? And big, we just mean we don't do tons in the Twin Ports historically, but all of a sudden we're seeing a ton of need specifically for a pipeline company that is just really blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah, we call it Twin Ports, but we're covering a huge area up here. We do have, like you say, with the pipeline company, that there's tons of opportunity, and they're great people to work with. And we've even found that because they're so great to work with, and we can pay the wages too, like people really want to work for this company. But even outside of that, there is opportunities. This is an industrial market here in Duluth. I mean, we're sitting on a port. We got, all the shipping that goes with that, and the mining on the range. There's things I'm finding out about this town. I've lived here for 40 some years, and that I didn't know were even here. Industries that we have in our backyard. And it's awesome to see we're finally tapping into those people. They're starting to know who we are. We know who they are. It's exciting.
Yeah. I think the fact of our experience out in the oil field and the traits of what it takes to succeed in the oil field transcend right into all these industries you just mentioned, right? The mining, the shipping, the railroads, all of it is, they all need projects that are done with accountability, they're done on time, and they're done with urgency, right?
Right.
And tons of flexibility. That's what we do.
And you think of the perfect learning grounds for that, oil and gas. In the summer, the conditions are hot, extreme hot and dusty. Winter, they're extreme cold. We still work. There's still maintenance needs to be done. It's dirty. We understand how important it is for that product to come out of the ground and flow and go in the right place. And it's the same thing everywhere when it comes to industrial work. And that's a good place to learn. And you really learn there that the demands of a customer, you got to hit them. I mean, you got to do what it takes. Urgency.
Right. And most of our foremans, anyways, or our folks out of our Twin Ports market, raised their career in the oil field. So
they cut their teeth out there.
Yeah. So in the Twin Ports, what did we talk about? Are we pretty much doubling our crew here as well?
It's a little more difficult to quantify doubling a crew because we have ramped as these large projects come off. We have up to 12 people that will be on one project, and so that the manpower really gets moved around a lot more.
Right. We'll pull
But
from other areas and
pull from other areas. Even some have wanted to come from the Bakken. I think they're imagining that it's going to be warmer or something closer
the
to the
poor
lake,
guys.
but I don't know if that's true. But yeah, there's certainly manpower that moves around. But overall, when we look at our work for 2022, that we're certainly going to have the largest crew we've ever had here.
And it
I'm
helps to
excited.
have a huge project starting over in Wisconsin.
Right.
How long is that project?
It's going to finish up in July, but through the duration of the project, it's going to take a lot of manpower.
Up to 12 guys at
Up
a
to
time.
12, yeah.
So, and then we still have, that's kind of the traveling Twin Ports crew, right? But the mine continues to have a few folks up there.
Yeah, that's pretty consistent. There's
And-
some other projects that are possibly coming up there too.
And I think we feel pretty good about the mine market. You know, iron ore continues to be at some pretty good pricing. Of course, we know that if the oil market is good, the iron ore market is good. They need that steel.
There's a lot of steel in
Yeah.
the oil field. It's
Well, and of
unreal.
course, we got the big controls project too to do this year. And so on the automation end out of our Twin Ports office, it'll be a cool project for us. And then, yeah, we have the opportunities for these other facilities to embed a couple people. We have the one client where we have an embedded person and they would like us to get another one for them. So there's plenty of activity here in the Twin Ports. And then, of course, we talk about our solar a lot here.
Yeah, and there's tons of opportunity there. We're seeing some pretty promising things coming down the pipe there for sure.
And we have the coolest solar specialist ever that you can find in the country, more passion than you and I put together.
He has got passion.
Yeah.
He's awesome to work with. He's enthusiastic, and people really like the clients like him too. And he's certainly going to have a busy summer ahead of him.
Well, and they should like him, and they should also like his crew. He's got an awesome crew.
Right.
We picked up a really good couple hires in the last few years. And so, yeah, Twin Ports Electrical, I think, John, overall, when we think about 2022, our electrical team has a lot of focus on it, right? Where there's just, whether you're talking the Bakken growing by a third or the Permian doubling the electrical team, and these are all rough, you know, or talking about adding some additional electricians here in the Twin Ports, you know, that's different than an environmental team adding 4 people down in the Permian, or on the automation team, I think we planned on maybe 6 folks in total or whatever. And, you know, the mechanical kind of holding flat. So all the growth is in the electrical. Of course, we know when COVID hit in 2020, generally speaking, most of the decrease happened in the electrical too.
Yeah, for sure.
So when we actually put a chart together, it was kind of fascinating to see where we were in 2019, which was our best year as a company from, I would say, from every level. We were all running at our optimum. We were in growth mode. It was fun. We made enough money to make it worth it. It was fun. It was chaotic.
If you can call running around like a chicken with its head cut off fun, yeah. No, it was fun. It was exciting. You didn't have time to sometimes it might cost a little more money to do it this way, but we don't got time.
Yeah.
We got to go. We got to run. That was exciting.
So when we compare it to 2019, we were still, though, challenging ourselves that we got to be a business that's a going concern. We got to be in 3 different areas doing a few different scopes of services, and we really got to keep driving that client mix, right? And boy, that was fun the other night when we kind of had a presentation and went through this. That back in 2014, 100% electrical in the Bakken, working for one client, one large client, one small client. You fast forward for 2022, we're planning almost an even split, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 between Twin Ports, Bakken, and Permian, which is really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And then you stack up the scope of services, and especially if you're talking about the big 3, the electrical, the automation, and the mechanical, you have a nice split in revenue, almost by thirds in that split. Well, your department is stealing a lot of the revenue, I guess.
Hey, what can I say?
Good people get the good stuff, right? Yeah. But I think we're just really excited about 2022 being another year where we drive that diversification, not away from the oil and gas. That's not what we're talking about, or away from industry. We're talking diversifying ourselves within markets and within that scope of service and within the clients that we work for. We also are working really hard to get an apprenticeship program going for your apprentices.
Yeah.
through some.
Both North Dakota and the Twin Ports here.
So we're really looking forward to that. Through several thousand at that idea and hoping for that. Got some software upgrades we got to do, where that's one thing that we did realize in 2019 is, boy, our software programs could use some help.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
They still work, but there's always room for improvement.
Well, and that's what makes it hard. Figure when we're sitting in those budget meetings and we're trying to forecast out and we're having these conversations, you're like, well, it works, and I'm kind of focused on growing electricians. I really don't care about software, but.
Well, it takes a lot of time, energy, and brain space to implement or upgrade software, and I think we can fool ourselves. I've been involved in it before in a small company, even, that it's a lot of work. It is just, you have to dissect your business and somehow into the pieces that it needs to be and implement into this new software, and no software is going to fit one company perfect.
No,
there's no way.
And I came from the government where we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on software, and all we did is have to hire more IT people to manage the software. So I'm super risk adverse with that. I know the team's going to have a hard time convincing me, I'm going to try and be a big boy about it and listen to their recommendations. But you know how I get with that stuff. Why do we got to change?
But it is a thing. It's almost like a marriage. You don't just rush into it without looking at everything about the person, right?
Right.
Same with this, because it's not something you get into and decide after 2 months, maybe that wasn't the best route to go. You got to be committed.
Yeah.
100%.
I don't want to put our team through some big old conversion only to find out it didn't happen. So that's definitely on our mind. We've got a sales and marketing budget that's like quadrupled on ourselves. Not even, it went up 225% or something. And that's been an interesting conversation. We'll see how we pull that off. But boy, we've spent some money on small tools too. We have some money planned for this year.
Yeah, when you have good guys, you got to give them good tools. That's one thing I've always been a strong believer in. You got to give them the right tools to do their job. Some companies are fine with giving you a drill set, and anything beyond that, if you want a sawzall, you got to get your own because we provide a hacksaw. That's not who we are. We're going to get every tool to make your job better. And even in a T&M environment, we're not necessarily going to make more money by providing everybody with the best tool. It's just the right thing to do. That's a value. They see a truck roll up that's got thousands of dollars worth of tools. They got everything they need to be efficient. That's huge.
It'll make you money in this sense, right? When we compared our small tools budget over the years to what it is now, there's a direct correlation, and you can't help but realize that, of course, you give your guys good tools, you attract people, they like to work with nice tools, and they don't have to run back and forth to the shop or from location to location sharing a jackhammer. They all got what they need. These are little things that they can add up huge for the producer, and then the work just continues to flow your way. The rate conversations are easier, everything becomes easier when you're investing in your company. If I remember right, in 2019, it was somewhere north of $500,000 we spent on small tools, and that's when our peak was. We had the most employees. This year, we're planning a few less employees from 2019, and yet we're still spending almost the same dollar amount on tools. So a little bit of a savings, but not tons.
Well, when you diversify, too, there's a cost with that. You get into something without realizing, well, to do that, you're going to need a fiber splicer and a tester, and we're making investments like that are going to help us broaden our scope of work.
Yeah, that's been a real eye opener, I think, for us on a leadership team when we realized, okay, we got to get out of this 100% electrical balking and diversify, right? And so it sounds easy, and I thought, well, the hardest part is going to be actually getting out there and making it happen. Well, right behind it, a difficult part is quantifying what it's going to actually cost to do that, because exactly, you don't think about the fact, well, we have pick on an asset, a $10,000 asset, and every crew might need it twice a year. So you just have one and everyone shares it, different than small tools, right? Well, all of a sudden you're opening another location. You need that asset again. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to be in a spot where we've got some experience now in each location where I think we kind of know what we need. So our forecasting is we're able to just do a better job. And who cares about the numbers? Where we can do a better job is we can adequately plan, right? So when you and David are talking about trucks, for electrical trucks, for instance, you already know, here's the tool list. You can go to the vendor, get that sucker order, get it pelletized. When the truck arrives, in go the tools. Or, you got how many trucks up for replacement this year?
I think it was 24.
24 trucks that we're replacing this year. So, and that's right. We kind of have those on a 3-year, 130,000 mile cycle that once they get to be 3 years old or hit 130,000 miles, if they're out in the oil field, those are used pickups. And the operational difficulty, again, proving to our clients what kind of a vendor we are, we're going to go ahead and replace that thing so we can arrive on location on time. But every time we replace that truck, we go through the tools, and half the time, I think it's about, 30-40% of the tools you're replacing?
It seems like it is. There's those tools that just wear out, and you realize that once you're replacing a truck. Or there's tools we've added to our tool lists, even like, well, as time goes, you need this crimper, for instance, that we previously didn't have, but boy, when it's on the tool list, people realize that we will buy that tool. They want it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that too, but
what the heck? Let's give them the tool and let them succeed.
Right. Yeah.
It seems like we've done some surveys with our guys, and we do hear a lot about that they really appreciate the fact that they get what they need.
Yeah, they do.
And in fact, you could say they get what they want half the time.
They're spoiled. No.
Well, because they spoil us.
Right. You give and you get it back for sure.
So we're pretty excited about that nice evenly split and the diversification, and we're spending the same amount of money on tools as we have previously. Got more money set aside for education, employee appreciation. We're spending, those softball games we talked about in the Bakken. It's not just in the Bakken.
Right. Gear is always a big thing, which, believe it or not, is hard to get. Whoever thought a baseball cap could be hung up on a ship from China for months?
We can give our guys one for Christmas.
Yeah, it's our first Christmas ever. So,
but they came in. I saw.
Oh
them.
yeah.
They're in the. Well, now I'm seeing people walking around with them. Like, hey, that's a cool hat.
Fact is, this morning I got hit up. Hey, some people got new hats. Everyone's been waiting for these.
Well, we got to get those
busted them out for sure.
Got to
no good
bring them to
boxes.
the Bakken and down to the Permian when we go.
Mm-hmm.
That'll have to be the next thing. So, and then we're, of course, CapEx. That's a huge one, right? So we talked a little bit. We're replacing 24 trucks. We got to buy, I don't know, was it 12 or something? If we maintain our growth, and we're making the comments that I think we're going to be buying more than 12 and 24.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we kind of talked about maybe rather than a lot of times when we replace trucks, we'll get rid of them. And I think we'll be pretty careful this year, right? Well,
for sure. It's hard to let a truck go. All of a sudden, a 2018 with 80,000 miles on it, even if it is up for replacement, we're like, well, I think we can hold on to that because when are we getting the next one? 3-4 months from now? We've seen turnarounds. We'd buy a new truck and a week later it'd be in service. It'd get a utility box put on it. Tools would be in it. We're not seeing that either. We're not seeing that week turnaround.
No.
So the 3 months to order just to get the truck, you got time getting it outfitted and then into service. We'll certainly be holding on to things a little bit longer than we want to, but
which is why it's so important that every time we talk about budgeting and forecasting, I think I share with the leadership team a lot that, this is just meant to be a guide, folks, and it's really just meant to help us with our math problem as we go through the year. This is not a gospel written.
Yeah, if we followed a spreadsheet, we'd be sitting there with guys laying them off because we didn't have a truck for them to get to work,
Yeah.
That'd be the reality of it. So
the market
obviously we got to flex with it, and the market would just pass us by.
Yeah.
So,
and then of course, pretty excited about our panel shop edition, right? Like that sucker is pretty well done. What is your wife cleaning it tonight?
She better be. Yeah. Yeah, we're planning to move into the offices upstairs.
So we're really excited about the office space for the additional project management teams that we've had to get to support the added growth throughout our company, but especially out of the Twin Ports for that pipeline work. And then, of course, the panel shop. How big is that addition for them? How many square feet?
I think the whole addition was 100 by 50, I believe.
Okay. And much of it a shop space for our panel shop team to expand and be a little better set up. But then you kind of got a bonus out of the deal.
Most importantly, we have a nice electrical shop. The guys have been we've had to mop them epoxy floors out there because they're drooling on them.
Oh, yeah.
See, they can actually have a shop that we can pull our trucks and trailers into to clean them and outfit them. And it's just the first time we've had everything in one place. We've been scattered about. So that is exciting. Sure gained some efficiencies too from this. But
Well, the electricians have been operating out of a Connex in the parking lot, while
Right.
the rest of the team has had their nice shops, no matter where you go. Permian, both offices in North Dakota, even our shop in Wisconsin, and our automation team, they've all had nice places. And then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you had 3 electricians in Duluth, quit whining.
yeah, but I think we were over 20 in 2021, and we're going to be more than 20 guys this year. So it became all of a sudden it's a real deal. It's a big division. And I don't feel ashamed to say that they have the nicest shop. You know, they've struggled without one since 2017, probably the first when we started doing electrical work in this area. So
It's a long
big
time
deal.
coming.
Yeah.
And I really thought that was great how Jeremy added the epoxy, the floor.
right, I'm like,
It
we
looks-
don't need it, but boy, you put it on there, it is sharp.
Yeah, talk about feeling some pride when you walk
Oh,
in
yeah.
there. And so I'm really excited to see our team move in there and hopefully take good care of that. And the panel shop, I think, is going to be a busy spot. So it's good that they're kind of separated from that electrical. And how cool to be able to pull a truck in finally and wash it up and empty it out after getting back from a week being out of town
Right.
for that team.
Yeah, many times, guys, I know last summer we're coming in, sometimes 9:00 at night, and they're cleaning out their trucks and parking them, and a lot of, we're doing them in the dark on a Connex. We did get lights in it eventually, but it was kind of a miserable situation. It's just going to be exciting to watch them back up to a nice overhead door, hit a button, have it open. If it's summer, it's actually got air conditioning in it too, since it was a panel shop, and they're
That's
a
actually
little
right. We'll have to
spoiled, so
disconnect that, John.
We might have to. I'm afraid that we might wonder why our guys didn't make it to the field.
Yeah.
It's too comfortable in
On the
shop.
2 days of summer in the Twin Ports, it's real hard to convince. Most guys want to get out there,
Right.
Well, and I think our solar, we're pretty excited to see them kick off to, do even more this year. We've been doing some monthly solar classes at the shop, or we did one so far, and we're going to continue that monthly. So heavy focus on just growing that solar right along with the industrial work out of the Twin Ports. But by and large, all said and done, Wescom looks a lot like it did in 2019 and 2022, with one exception. I think we're just better.
Oh, yeah.
I think we talked a little bit about like better systems, better results, and we didn't say better profit. We said better results, right? And the results we're talking about is folks who, they take their vacation on Friday and it's okay. In 2019, it didn't even feel like you could get a vacation day, right?
Right. I dreaded them.
Well, they weren't fun because you
weren't.
came back and rather than having 200 emails, had 500.
Right.
And they weren't just had emails that you can delete. They were like actionable items that were needed. So I think better systems, better results also looks like this client that you've been working tightly with out of the Twin Ports market. They treat our guys absolutely awesome. And that's what I mean by a better result, right? They're out on location working with our team. And what did Jesse tell you when he came back? Like, hey, next year, if they call, that's where I'm going.
Right.
Like,
He said, this is the best best project I've ever worked on. And Jesse's got, I think he started with his dad doing electrical in his teenage years. So he's been in it for a good 20-some, maybe 30 years.
well, you just aged him, and I don't think he's as old as you, John. Have you had this
I think
conversation
he
with
is
him?
like maybe a month older or something
Okay.
like that. It's
All right.
close. So
Well.
I can do the math in my head pretty quickly.
Well, I just think it speaks volumes about that client too, because frankly, Jesse's worked for us in the Bakken before. So, he says it's the best project. He didn't, he already knew what Wescom was. So something with that client made it even better.
Right.
And so it really is cool to be bidding those projects and get awarded that large one we did and really providing a lot of value for that client. I'm really hopeful this year that we can also do just a little better when we say, better systems and better results, even just internally amongst ourselves, the poor leadership team at Wescom, it's been hard on me when I've been, around when there was 5 of us and now, what is there going to be 175 of us and we're already getting pretty close there now. And with that just comes a lot of different things. And I still haven't figured out how to quit stomping on people. This just happened when I was in North Dakota, 2 weeks ago? I mean, we were there together, and I met with an employee and did something and then didn't fully communicate it to you, and I stomped on you. That's not cool, right? So I got to continue myself. I'm hoping I can do a better job this year, and everyone's got their positions, let them handle their areas. And
well, I'll tell you right now, one thing that's helping is I'm currently experiencing the same thing. There's people that around me that are taking a lot of the, doing better jobs at things than I could do. But sometimes because I'm comfortable in the position or I've been there, it's so much easier just to grab it and just do it quick and then just tell them, I know I was supposed to do this, but I did it because it was faster and possibly a better result. So I know what it's like. I know why it happens. So it's okay.
Well, let's try and do a real good job, because one of our core values is empowering people, right? So we really want them to have that. But I actually was doing a podcast recently, conversation with another guy about, last week when we were in the Permian, one of the employees told me, I just want to get in your head and figure out how you make your decisions. Well, you don't want to be in my head because it's messy and ugly out there. I can promise you.
Stay out of my head too, buddy.
But the one thing is for sure is a lot of the decisions are just gut, and that gut is coming from years of experience. And all these other things. And we're in the leadership meeting, so we have all the data. We might have just got off a conference call with something. You can make the decisions quickly. So therefore, it's just tempting to do it instead of taking the time to slow down and explain to somebody why you're doing it. And in 2019, we just didn't have that time. So hopefully now in 2022, even though we look a lot like 2019, we have better results and better systems, because I think that'll be the key to ensure that when we talked about our 5 and 10-year plan, that we're still a very viable going concern in the industrial market. I think our challenge is not going to be work or the availability of work. The challenge is which of the work are we going to do?
Right. Let's take work that we can succeed with them. We can knock these out of the park. Right now, we could grab projects that just don't quite fit.
Well, they're everywhere.
You could get in big trouble.
You really could. And in 2021, when we were recovering from COVID, that was tempting, right?
Oh, we would grab whatever we could get.
Hunger pains get the best of a guy, and all of a sudden diversification, forget you. Yeah. Oh, well, we're going to take this. So I'm looking forward to that. And I know the oil market, $100 barrel oil is not out of the question.
It's going to be rubbing 90 here.
Right.
I think we've seen 88.
We did, and then this whole Ukraine-Russian global geopolitical mess that's going on, that's going to provide some pressure to it. I did a podcast with a fellow in the industry, and he's pretty convinced that Europe is going to go cold because of Russian activities. If that does, that's really going to drive the price up. He had a lot of good data on that. I'm feeling real strong about the oil market, and when that happens, it usually takes a couple of years of strong before it'll start to collapse within itself. So I think 2022, 2023, our oil market, we're seeing growth opportunity, right, and we're going to try and navigate that in the proper way. 2024, maybe it flattens out. Election year, those are always tough. 2025, it probably falls down a little bit, and then it kind of repeats its cycle. That feels good to know that. The industrial market, though, boy, is that a strong market. And America is learning that if we want our products, we better produce them ourselves.
Right. If anything good came out of the pandemic, we've really learned that we can't depend on foreign countries.
Right. And so as playing in the energy space in America right now, how exciting is that? Because there are factories and industrial facilities that absolutely need to be upgraded and built. There was just a chip manufacturer who's going to be building a big old chip plant. I can't remember if it was in Iowa or where it was going to be built. But they said it's going to actually take 4 years before they're actually building the chips out of this plant.
Oh, really?
That's how long it takes to build and get to production. So there's tons of opportunity for us right here in the Twin Ports in the industrial market. And that same industrial market in 2025 will exist in the Bakken and in the Permian when that slowdown hits there. So I think we're pretty focused on, hey, let's ride this oil and let's make sure we do our part, because this country needs that oil. I don't know how it was for you, but this morning when I woke up, I think it was 19 below at my house.
It's cold.
And we have our thermostat at 62 overnight. So I went in the living room and I turned on that fireplace and I had my cup of coffee and I thought, boy, I sure like our North Dakotan guys and our Permian guys. You know,
Yeah, you're not going to have that. If we don't produce it here, how do we get natural gas or propane?
some people think we can get it from Russia, but if you look at the
Well,
geopolitical tensions right now, I don't know
wouldn't
if that's
count
a
on
good
it.
one. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then of course our solar, right? We're not lost on it that, yeah, we love oil and gas, and I will fight that industry until the day I die. I'm also going to advocate that it's great that there's other options out there, such as solar. I have it on my house. It's been a great little investment for me, primarily because I'm learning a ton about it. We have it at our shop. We like it. So I think, come 2025, that's going to be a huge piece of our business. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Right. Yeah, that was a good conversations we've had about it. We're energizing America. What does that look like? And it's awesome to have that statement in front of us, because there's a lot of times all of us we line up and we're like, that don't fit us. Solar certainly does. That is certainly a way forward in this country, that we're going to produce energy.
And especially when you add in the political mantra or the societal pressure behind that, right? Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, it's coming.
Yeah.
And so we've really said, let's embrace it and do both, because they're both energizing America.
They are.
I'm really excited about 2022, and hopefully we can stay true to who we are. I think it'll be fun to do another podcast in a year and look back and say, well, how'd that go, constraining ourselves to that growth?
Right.
And you know what,
look
John?
forward
If
to
it
it.
ends up that 2022 looks exactly like 2019, bring it on.
Well, the foundation's laid. That's what I'm so excited about. I can think of the chaoticness of 2019, but it was put squarely on us. Us and a few others. Like, it wasn't a big team. Like, we have a team to spread this out on. There's foundations laid that it's going to be much more, it's going to be much smoother, and it's going to be, I think, funner in a way too. Even seeing the guys around us and under us grow. There's going to be some growth opportunities for a lot of people.
Yeah, that we thought we saw some cool growth in our team last year. Imagine now,
Right.
through a growth year like 2022, how much more they're going to, because it's funny, we grow way more when we just have to grow.
Right.
When you have no choice, like the market's just pushing you. Well, I've told folks before, when you first start in business, right, you're whipping the horse and you're pulling the carriage. You get going and the business overtakes you, and you're like, the blasted people behind you are pushing you instead of you pulling. There ain't no pulling. There is no pulling this team. They're pushing us, right? And that's when real growth happens. You're either going to grow or you're going to fall off. And if you fall off, the wheel's probably going to run you over. That doesn't feel good, right? So you're probably not going to come back on the bus. And I think that's what, I agree, that'll be exciting to see those folks grow.
Mm-hmm.
We have a good year ahead of us. Thanks for the conversation.
You bet.